Welcome to the Final Score Network and the Final Score Podcast, presented by Team Anders Realtors. I'm Andy. He's former NCAA student athlete and co-host.
Ryan, Cam, two-hand monster flush off the inbound. Ryan, Cam, slam, jam. Oh boy.
Find the TFS pod and our playlists wherever you stream your podcast or music. Follow us on X at TheFinalScore35. Oh, and one more note before we get started.
I'd like to apologize to anyone I've not offended yet. Please be patient. I'll get to you shortly.
Welcome into the 238th edition of the TFS Pod. Final episode of August. Week 1 previews coming right up. Michigan State preview as well. In-depth breakdown by yours truly. Tommy Fleetwood at long last. We'll talk about that. I know you got that in your podium, Dad. I've got that just as a note in my golf as well. Shouts to him for finally getting over the hump. Michigan State breaks the record for student tickets sold for a season for football. That's interesting. Coming off of 4 out of 5 lackluster seasons. This is kind of my podium. This is kind of like a news dump. Tigers playing good ball again. 10.5 game lead on Kansas City. Hopefully they can sweep the Athletics this week, and then the soon-to-be Las Vegas Athletics. And then take control of the division here and wrap it up and get some guys healthy and maybe make a World Series run. We'll see. Pitching's kind of a concern. Aside from Scooble, bullpen is either amazing or terrible. Starting pitching is Charlie Morton's here and there. Casey Mize is here and there. Jack Flaherty's quite terrible. Chris Paddock is pretty terrible as well. So could be interesting, but as long as you get to the playoffs, anything can happen, as we know. And then this was a weird thing came out today. Another ruling where the player won against the court, won in the court against the NCAA. A guy named Rashid Falsan, I think it's his name. He plays for South Carolina as a running back. This will be his 7th season of college football, and he was granted eligibility. This also happened for some 6th and 7th year guys from West Virginia beating the NCAA, and this just goes to show that there's going to be eventually I feel like there's going to be no limit on playing, which is stupid because, a 26-year-old should be playing against an 18-year-old. That makes a lot of sense in football. In basketball, it's different because there's young guys in the NBA all the time, whatever. But football, oh my goodness, no. You should have a mortgage and a job or be in the NFL or something. Not playing college if you're 26, 27 years old. That's all I really have. That was my news dump podium intro.
Yeah, and yet was a year or two ago, the kid that transferred late in the game, they wouldn't let him be eligible for North Carolina when everybody can transfer. It's it makes zero sense. If you're going to get a PhD in 7 years, fine. If you got the time to do that, but if you don't have at least 2 master's degree if you're in school for 7 years, then stop wasting taxpayer dollars. I'm going to keep my podium short and sweet. I wrote it out. I don't have a ton of time, so I just kind of put some thoughts down on paper and then use a little co-pilot to help me formulate it into an actual whole script because I'm used to doing scripts at work anyway. So short, quick, and sweet. It's not a secret that I really love Scotty Scheffler. I've called out his, kind of his character and the way he is as why can't more athletes be like that? And I wanted to kind of, call out Tommy Fleetwood for the same. So, what's rare in sports? A guy who loses with grace, wins with humility, and somehow makes you root for him even when he's not your guy. Tommy Fleetwood is that guy. He's that guy for me. In a world where athletes are either chest-bumping brands or walking PR disasters, Fleetwood is quietly building a blueprint for how to be a pro. And it looks a lot like Scotty Scheffler's. No tantrums, no ego, just relentless positivity, elite perseverance, and a fan-first attitude that makes golf feel human again. I think it was Saturday. Took a double bogey on 15, which was a diabolical hole this weekend, and fist bumped a couple kids on his way to 16. He's not the flashiest. He's not the loudest, but he's the guy who signs autographs until the sun sets, who smiles through heartbreak, gives interviews through heartbreak, and who plays like every round is a privilege, not a burden. And here's the kicker. It's working. Fleetwood's game is peaking. He's in contention everywhere. Obviously, he had a couple close calls in the playoffs before this weekend, and he's doing it without selling out, without melting down, or turning into a walking meme. So, this week for change, I'm not ranting, I'm applauding, because Tommy Fleetwood is showing us that being like Scotty, meaning being decent, grounded, and genuinely likable, isn't just admirable, it's effective. More athletes should take notes, because in a sports world addicted to drama, Fleetwood's formula is quietly revolutionary.
Nice. All right,
I got a little ad for this week. This week's flag is brought to you by Nepotism, the official energy drink of overhyped athletes. Guaranteed to get you noticed, just not for the right reasons.
Yeah, which leads into their poster child, the Sanders family, back at it again, making the headlines for the wrong reasons. We'll start with Shiloh.
Shiloh shenanigans.
Is he a dog?
Yeah, right.
Gets
Black Lab.
Kicked out of a preseason game, trying to make a roster for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, gets thrown out of a game for throwing punches, then gets cut the next day. That's hilarious. And then Shedeur, there's some controversy with the coach, him going in late, and
played like dog shit.
He was not good.
I've got a sponsorship idea for Shedeur. I think he should be repping a wine and cheese brand.
Yeah, probably.
That's all that guy does.
Well, he'll be third string now, because Pickett just got traded about an hour ago.
Here's a favorite line that I've seen. Shiloh threw a punch, Shedeur throws a fit. Somewhere Dion's throwing a press conference.
Yeah, probably. He's a nut job himself. I'm tired of talking about these guys. Like, just be normal. It's not that hard. Apparently, it is for you just to keep your frickin' mouth shut. I don't know.
Shut up and play.
Exactly. That's too much.
I want the 80s back.
In today's day and age,
Really
it's really hard to do. There's not many people that just shut up and play. All right, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. We have 4 downs back, but before we get to first down, a word from our presenting sponsor, one of our sponsors here, North Sports Group. NSG is a boutique agency of experts with 30-plus years experience in sports sponsorship and much more. Learn more about them today at northsportsgroup.com. You already touched on Tommy Fleetwood victory, so did I. I feel just happy for the guy. He just looks so relieved to win that golf tournament and win the FedEx Cup.
$10 million tournament, not a bad one to win.
Best field, aside from a major, 30 guys. The 30 best players on the tour this season, and he prevails. He would have finished second if they'd done the starting strokes by like one shot to Scotty. Good week from him. He made a ton of birdies. I think he made like 28 of them. Pretty dang good. And Eastlake gets a bad rep for some reason. I like that course. It's classic Donald Ross.
You got to hit in the fairway.
Turtle-shelled green, bunkers.
You hit in the rough, you're in trouble.
Yeah, you hit in
the
rough,
water.
Trouble, water. A very pretty old clubhouse. It's a good course. A good way to end the season. I'd like to see him switch it here and there.
I still don't like. I don't like calling. Thrilled for Tommy, but I don't like calling it the FedEx Cup
season-long race.
It wasn't. Like, if you want to call it some sort of a playoff, he won the playoffs, that's totally fine. That's not to take away from his win, because like Ryan said, he played, the 30 best players in the PGA Tour this year, so totally get that. Like, I have no qualms about, the quality of his victory. I just, like, to minimize what Scotty did for a whole season, there's got to be a different way to do that, and maybe if it's really about the money, the bonus for being the best player all year, then just pay the guys a bonus for the way that they play all year, and, then just play the golf. And, there's been lots of ideas tossed around doing some sort of stroke play into a match play. And I saw a guy, Chris sent it to me, I think, he really broke it down where, like, one of the reasons why they don't do that is for TV, right? Because if you think of even the U.S. Amateur, you're watching just 2 players play all day. This guy had I can't remember it off the top of my head, but he had a really good, like, almost like double elimination, like AAU, and then rematching things, and so like there's always multiple matches going on to kind of finish out like your positions 2 or 3 through 16, if you will. I feel like something like that should be done if you really truly want to make it a year-end thing, and otherwise just make it 3 signature events at the end that are a playoff of sorts, for an extra grab of the pie and extra bonus money. But just don't minimize what Scotty did all year. Don't minimize what Ben Griffin did all year. Don't minimize what Tommy Fleetwood did all year either. Yeah. By having to make it be something about that last tournament. That last tournament can be special without it being the be-all, end-all, and the Holy Grail. You want to have a $10 million pot because you're, got the 30 best players all year and you're beating them. I don't have a problem with that, but like, don't call that the FedEx Cup because a guy that won for the first time in 164 starts versus a guy who's finished top 8 in his last 14. That's the best such streak since Ben Hogan. Like, you're going to, no offense again, Tommy Fleetwood, but you're not better than Scotty Scheffler this year.
No.
Congrats on the win. Huge win. If Scotty wasn't going to win, I'm on the record. Yeah. I was on the record as saying I hope Tommy won. Glad to see him get off the schneid. I've always liked Tommy. He's a good major player. I always pick him on my squad if I can for the majors. The only time I'm not going to like him is during the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, where he's been really solid. Patrick Cantlay, not a huge fan of him on this pod, but he had a pretty good week. T2, Russell Henley as well. Nice week. Corey Connors finished with a 62 yesterday. Scotty, T4, just a machine. Cam Young, another good week. JT. Captain Keegan was up there in the mix. Victor Hovland played some good golf, 63 yesterday, so another low score. Our season-long race for our FedEx Cup ended with me 1,300 combined on yours 1,366 with our placement, so pretty close. But I took home the win. I think I won last year. I won the year before. Oh, that's 3-0. And I'm 4-0 against you in the picks.
Oh. Who's got more money in their FanDuel account?
Probably you.
Congrats.
I don't think I have anything else golf-wise. We're going to get to the Ryder Cup in the next down. But we turn our attention to the Ryder Cup. Before that, I think there's...
Yeah, Chris has got a couple of mailbag. We kind of call this Ryder Cup / mailbag. Chris did send in 3 questions, and then Chris and I think did Mitch participate too? Yeah, Mitch. Our usual major guest pickers hooked us up with some stuff for this down as well. So Chris's first question: should the Ryder Cup transcend the LIV PGA fight? The U.S. Ryder Cup team is planning to use a PGA Tour event as prep for the Ryder Cup, but Bryson can't play because he's banned due to being on LIV. We were listening to this last week on
the starter. No, I mean, he's banned, so he shouldn't be able to play.
I don't think so, Chris, just because, look, he made a choice. He got a lot of money, and I get it. Some of these guys probably regret it. Bryson's kind of made the best of both worlds, but I think in if push came to shove, he would say he probably regretted it. But I think as soon as you bend the rules for him and just say, well, it's in the name of the Ryder Cup, then there's a million loopholes. And I just think, like, the guy made a choice. All the guys that left for LIV made a choice to flip the bird to the PGA, take bank of blood money, and do their thing with shorts and, maxi golf style golf. And that's a choice he made. There's going to be other ways, I believe, as Taylor Zarzour said, and I agree, there's going to be other ways for this team to bond and get it together. I don't think just that playing together, because they're not really playing together in that they're competing against each other anyway. I just, look, you made your bed, you got to lie in it. I don't think you can bend the rules back, and I don't honestly see the LIV and the PGA coming back together.
No, I mean it's going in the opposite direction of good.
It really seems to be. So that's my take. I don't know what your take on that is.
I agree. Echo that.
Next question. We'll probably get into both of these a little bit to an extent, maybe indirectly in the preview, but that's fine. What Michigan State position group should we be the most worried about the injury bug biting?
Which position group?
Yeah.
Probably defensive line because there's not much playable depth there.
I still think secondary because that's what's just absolutely destroyed Michigan State's defense right out of the gate the last several years in a row. Feels like we've had a huge injury in the first week, maybe the first 2 weeks, and all of a sudden we got, like Division II transfers and walk-ons playing DB in a pass-happy, college football anymore. I feel like technique and depth and talent takes longer to develop at corner, especially than it does for DN or for D linemen. I think you can kind of plug them in and go a little bit more. I know I'm oversimplifying it a little bit, but for me, it's the secondary.
Yeah, I mean that too. That's been an issue.
And then Chris's last question: if at the end of the 2025 campaign, MSU passed the ball 60% of plays overall, it would mean MSU had a great, good, or horrible season.
Yeah. Hopefully.
It's a bit of a loaded question because Michigan State has a really good, obviously a now more experienced quarterback, some really, really good receivers, a couple of good tight ends for all intents and purposes. We'll see Friday night, a better offensive line. So one could expect that in some inexperienced running backs. And so you might expect that Michigan State probably should pass a little bit more. I think it gets above 60%, though. I think you still win and lose in the trenches.
Yeah, I agree.
I think
you got to be able to run the ball.
If it's in the 55 to less than 60% range, I could see it. I think you got to play to your strengths. You can kind of turn the short pass game into a run game. Michigan State did that well with like Keyshawn Martin. They did it well with Shelton, guys like that. With the little bubble screens and that kind of stuff, which they've sucked at lately. So if you got the right guys to do that in turn can be kind of like a run, or if you can throw the little screens in the flat to your running backs and they can catch and run, that can buy you a little bit. And so I kind of count that quasi as a running game. But I think if Michigan State's just flat out throwing the ball 350, 400 yards a game, it's going to mean they're playing a lot of catch up.
Yeah.
And I don't know that bodes well for the ultimate success of the team.
Probably not.
All right.
You have any other questions, or is that
Nope. Those are the three from Chris today.
Okay.
We'll shift to the
Ryder
Cup.
Let's Ryder Cup it. I can go with Mitch's first for his captain's picks. This is just
let's recap who's on the team already.
I was going to start with that.
Okay.
This is the United States automatic qualifiers, 6 AQs, and there will be 6 captain's picks this Wednesday. None other than Scotty Scheffler. He's made the team like 25 times. JJ Spawn, Xander Schauffele, Russell Henley, Harris English, and Bryson DeChambeau, which leads us to his 6 picks of Justin Thomas, who's 7th in the standings, Colin Morikawa, 8th in the standings, Ben Griffin, 9th in the standings. He has Patrick Cantlay, Cameron Young, and then his surprise pick is Chris Gotterup.
New York guy, New Jersey guy.
Some talk here and there. I like that, Mitch. I like that.
I think with that 6, it's a mix of elite ball strikers, streaky putters, and a couple of questionable match play guys, maybe. I think Bradley's got to get the captain's picks right to bring him home.
I completely forgot. Why did I not say this one? Because I didn't read his sentence. Then his last guy was Keegan, and he says, anyone who says different deserves to 3-putt at least 10 times in the next round.
I mean, and Keegan's looking to balance experience, chemistry, and firepower because foursomes lead off the first few days, obviously, right? So you got to be able to have that team camaraderie and whatever. So with kind of some of those notes, let me give you who Chris has picked. So Chris, his picks are Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa, Patrick Cantlay, Cameron Young. So he agrees with those 4. And his next 2 are Sam Burns and Maverick McNeil.
2 really good putters. Keegan Bradley said this. He said that some guys that think they're on the team are gonna get calls that they're not on the team. He said that.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Could be interesting. Could that mean a Morikawa who has had terrible form this year is left out? Does that mean Cantlay's left out. I don't know. I mean, is that like McNeely? Yeah, he's been okay. He's a good putter. I don't like that he has no chops for majors or for playing in an event like this, especially with the U.S. really needing a win. Sam Burns, I mean, he has the experience. He's obviously a really good putter. He's performed well as of late. I can see that. My picks, captain picks Justin Thomas, Ben Griffin, Keegan Bradley, Patrick Cantlay, Colin Morikawa, Cam Young. I just think like Cantlay for me was the hard one. I kind of went back and forth between him and Burns. I just think Cantlay played well this week. I think form is important. I think that he's just a really good match play guy because he just kind of rubs people the wrong way. And you saw what happened last time with him and Joe LaCava, with Rory and his caddy, and then it just I think he's going to be on the team just irk the Euros.
I think so too. I mean, I think for me, I think Justin Thomas just gives you obviously a lot of.
He's got so much experience. He played well.
Experience. This season. He's an emotional spark plug. Like the fans love him. He's pretty clutch under pressure, and he's played better down the stretch. I've got Cantlay. I think he only based on the fact that he's really he hasn't won in 3 years, but he's been playing well of late.
Yeah.
This weekend as well, like you said, Ryan, he got kind of like ice cold nerves. He's really good in alternate shot. He's been on the team a couple times. I think Cam Young. I think he plays well in big situations anyway.
Very
he finally
clutch.
got off. He like Fleetwood finally got off the schneid with a win a couple weeks ago. He was right in the mix the last couple weeks. He's really good off the tee. He's pretty aggressive, so it suits four ball. You got a guy that like, okay, I got to be the aggressive one, then I got to sit back. He'd be a rookie, so that's a little bit of a downfall for him. I'm gonna go with Sam Burns. I think like pairing him with Scotty, although I know a lot of times they're talking about Henley with him. I think like he's a great putter. I think pairing him with Scotty is a great pairing. He does have a little bit of experience. I think I could see some other guys getting picked over him, but I personally like Burns, certainly over Morikawa. It's close for me for Griffin, to be honest. I really do like Griffin. I think it's hard not to reward somebody, but I don't know. He has not been as good of late. McNeely just kind of came out strong, but he wasn't really that great early in the season, so he's a non-factor for me. Somebody definitely considered, before we get to my final pick, was Brian Harmon. He's just kind of gritty. He like he's a grinder. He shows up big in certain situations. He hits fairways. That's a long course, so that doesn't suit him so well. But I definitely thought about him long and hard. I know Spieth still comes up because he's obviously a super veteran. He's been on the team 4 times before. But I think I agree with Mitch. I think you got to go with Keegs. I mean, I think he's surrounded himself with a lot of good associate
He's just
captains.
He's the emotional spark plug.
And I think he's played really well and consistently this year. He's a competitor. I just think it would be a mistake for him not to pick himself. I know he's hemming and hawing a lot about it because it adds pressure, right? There's enough pressure as it is as a Ryder Cup captain, and if you were to lose on your soil and you picked yourself over somebody else, you set yourself up for disaster, but that's the risk, right? You got to take. And ultimately, if he's got the right people talking to him, they'll tell him, look, Keegan, you got to pick yourself. He's been in the top 10 all year, hasn't he?
He's
pretty much. Or 11th, top 12. I mean, he's there's so many reasons to pick him. I would agree that's who they need to pick. And we'll find out on Wednesday, right?
And then real quick, the Euros, they're automatic qualifiers: Rory McIlroy, Bob McIntyre, Tommy Fleetwood, Justin Rose, Rasmus Højgaard got in last week, and Tyrrell Hatton. And then I real quick would want to give my picks for them. It's pretty easy: Sepp Straka, Matt Fitzpatrick, John Rahm, Ludwig Ober, Victor Hovland, Shane Lowry. That's a pretty good squad.
Will be a good squad. It's hard to win on the road in this. It's been a while since it's been done. Should be fun.
Yeah.
The late September action.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. Month away. Okay. Now we get to our mellow play mix.
Yeah. This is all for Mom, aka Mana. Loves our playlist. Doesn't know most of the music that we pick between the four of us. Suggested it once with a text to me. Is like, can you guys do a mellow list? I don't know if Ryan would be up for that. Songs for me would be like Horse with No Name by America, which is, by the way, a great song. So we asked the boys to also weigh in on this. I have an entire, I call it slow jams, whatever. I have a 12-hour playlist of slow jams. Most of my songs are certainly all on it, and probably most of the picks coming in are going to be already on it. So we'll see if there's any new ones. But we asked for 5 each, right?
Yep.
And then I've got 10 just because, of course, I do.
Okay, Mitch's Beast of Burden by the Beatles, Californication, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Texas Sun, Leon Bridges, A Simple Song, Chris Stapleton, and Luther by Kendrick Lamar.
See, so Mitch is always good for songs that I would not necessarily consider. You're gonna have to send those to me, Ryan, so I can check them and add them to my slow playlist. I think we have a couple of those appear on other Mitch lists, if I remember correctly. What's the one? Tennessee Sun, I think.
Texas Sun.
Texas Sun, I believe he's got that on one of our playlists already. Good song. Love Mitch's picks. Very eccentric in a way of quality. So Chris's 5, not a super surprise for me as a same generation. One of these songs I don't necessarily know if I know it. I'd have to hear it and know it. But he's got a couple of plays from Chicago in there. He's got I Don't Want to Live Without Your Love by Chicago. He's got You're the Inspiration, Chicago. Kiss from a Rose from Seal. Interesting. This one's a classic. Always wanted to try to catch it when they played on the radio. Hit the record on the tape. The Lady in Red by Chris de Burgh. That is a great song.
Don't know what that is.
If I played it for you, you would recognize it. And the other one, I don't know it off the top of my head. Maybe you do, Ryan. The Luckiest by Ben Folds. Never heard it. So I'm going to have to add that one. The other 4 I have well, I don't know if I have Kiss from a Rose on my playlist, but I'll have to add those to. I'm not creating a new playlist, by the way. Mom, these are just for you to look at, listen to, find them on the interwebs and see if you learn a new song that you like.
Yeah. All right, it's my turn.
Your turn.
I got 8.
Okay, that's good.
You gave me a free one, Reminiscing by Little River Band. I got 6 discs in here.
You can't beat Little River Band. Just classic 70s.
Against the Wind, Bob Seger.
Good one.
Forrest Gump. Take It on the Run, REO Speedwagon.
Another good one.
Upside Down by Jack Johnson.
Ooh, that's a good one. Upside Down, really good.
Classic ballad, Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald by Gordon Lightfoot.
Oh, yeah.
Iris.
Be 50 years this year
Dolls.
on November 10th.
50.
Iris, another really good one.
Clocks by Coldplay, and then Drops of Jupiter by Train.
Nice.
That's all I have.
Those are good ones. All right, Mom, you're going to probably recognize a lot of mine. I tried to keep it a little bit more to singers you would know, and these are ones that I have on my playlist. But probably one of my favorite mellow song of all time, honestly, is Longer by Dan Fogelberg. Played a little bit of a riff of this tonight. Ryan had no idea what it was, but If by Bread. Country Roads, John Denver.
Yeah, I had that on my...
really close to Longer is Sailing by Christopher Cross. Phenomenal song. Another one of my all-time favorites, Drive by The Cars. Carolina in My Mind by James Taylor. Just the Way You Are, Billy Joel. Another LRB song, Cool Change. Baby Come Back by Player. America, Neil Diamond. We know Money likes Neil Diamond.
That one, yeah.
We've Got Tonight by Bob Seger, and Take It to the Limit by the Eagles.
Gotta throw the Eagles in there.
Yeah, I gotta throw the Eagles in there. So I'm gonna have to cross-reference a few of. I think I've got all yours, Ryan. Clocks is my alarm clock.
Yeah, I know, it's a great.
So I'm gonna have to throw a couple of those on there. You have to send me your list too, just to make sure I've got them on my list. So that's for you, great. Mom. Hopefully, look those up. See if you learn something new. If there's a song in there that you've never heard of that you like.
Yeah. All right. Now a word from our presenting sponsor, Team Anders Realty, will help you find the home that fits your wants and needs, and then make the process simple and fun along the way. The Angels have served thousands of clients for 30-plus years in the West Michigan area and are here to serve you today. Learn more at teamanders.com. We hit the 18th and final team of the Big 18. Yours truly.
The B18.
Home. Michigan State, East Lansing, Michigan, the Spartans, coming off of a dreadful 5-7 season. Before that, what was it, 4-8? I think
I don't even
2023, 5-7 the year before that. 11-2 in 2021 and 2-5 in 2020.
Easily the last 3 years could have made a play or two here and there, and well, maybe not the 4-8 season, but the 2 5-7 seasons could have made a play. The Indiana game, I think, of 3 years ago, where they blew basically an extra point to win that game. They missed a couple games on special team games last year, or just boneheaded plays or drops or whatever. Plays. So I mean, you're not that far away from flipping it and going to a bowl game, which the ultimate is the playoffs, but baby steps. It's an important year for Michigan State football.
Yeah. I'm going to start with the key losses, then we're just going to get into everything else. So Charles Brantley played for like 40 years. He's gone, transferred to Miami. Get out of here. He gets hurt every 5 seconds anyways. Dylan Tatum, he just was a guy that probably played a decent amount, but he's gone. Transferred to Northwestern. Nate Carter, Karen Lynch-Adams, Michigan State's running backs from last year, gone. Montori Foster, Jordan Turner was a solid linebacker, Cal Halliday, Angelo Gross, Maverick Hansen. So some guys that were around for a long time.
Mainstays, yeah.
Had a lot of games under their belt, a lot of snaps. But
not a lot of transfer portal turmoil this year.
No, Michigan State didn't have any huge names leave. There wasn't any weird, spring.
I mean, I guess Brantley is the biggest name, but
you couldn't count on that.
More
guy.
For the big play against Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, he had his moments, but I think Michigan State is better off without him. I heard that he was a bit of an issue in the locker room.
I think Michigan State generally is appreciably better. And here's how you know a team is better. You're bottom 40. Michigan State's bottom 40 last year was pond water.
Oh, terrible.
And our bottom 40 this year is serviceable. Because
much more serviceable.
In my lifetime, Michigan State's first string can go toe-to-toe with anybody in the Big Ten. But the problem is you can't just play your first string all year because injuries happen and
guys get tired, and
targeting and all that kind of stuff. And so it's the depth that matters. It's the programs like Ohio State, Penn State, so on and so forth that have 2, 3, 4 guys and they're willing to kind of stick it out and wait their turn, which is rare these days. Yeah. But that's how you have success.
Yeah.
And Arch Manning that stays and plays behind Quinn Ewers, right? Instead of just transferring because he wanted to play faster somewhere.
Yeah, and Jonathan Smith, I mean, it's year 2, but this is kind of a season that's going to kind of make or break his tenure at Michigan State. Is he going to be a guy that's going to be, a program builder and get Michigan State, win 7 or 8 games this year and then, be a playoff contender next year? Or is he going to hover around 5-7, 6-6 and wallow in mediocrity and, get on a hot seat next year? And if he, starts off poorly and then he gets canned and Michigan State has to start all over again. I don't want that to happen. I think that, his personality isn't necessarily the most outgoing or anything, but I think that's okay.
If you can embrace what your personality is, though, and then show it the right way at the right time, that's what D'Antonio did.
He's a tactician.
I personally met him and got to know him a little bit, and I loved Coach D's personality, but like your outward media front, whatever, kind of a little bit gruff, kind of a little bit more closed off, definitely not so much like Izzo, but he had a way of delivering the right strong words at the right moment that drew the fans in, and that's what Jonathan Smith,
kind of guy when he talks, you better listen. I mean, I think Smith can get there. I think Michigan State's assistant coaches are, they got a solid pool. I mean, Joe Rossi's a really good young defensive coordinator. I think bringing John Boyer over from Oregon State to be the quarterback's coach, that's going to serve Aiden Childs a great deal there. I think he was his mentor his freshman year at Oregon State, and he's very helpful. Courtney Hawkins, I think that he is an ace in the hole for Michigan State. Really good recruiter, really good position coach. I think Michigan State's really lucky to have him. I think Blue Adams and I think it's James Adams. I can't remember the guy that's the other guy that came from Wake Forest. Michigan State's secondary coaches are really good as well, good recruiters too. So I'm looking forward to see how they've developed these guys. Aside from kicker, which we'll get to, pretty injury-free now, but which is a first really going into even the first game. I feel like Michigan State always has a lot of guys dinged up, a lot of guys, that could be out 6-8 weeks. That has not happened yet, knock on wood. Just going position by position, I'm not going to spew garbage a ton on each position. But quarterback, Aiden Childs, I'm expecting the jump from him. You saw it. You see the potential in the kid.
Mm-hmm.
He's big body,
freakishly athletic,
fast. He's got tree trunks for legs. He's got a really, really good arm. He just wasn't seeing the defense well. He even said, his coaches said, he couldn't read a defense very well. I think that the offensive line that he played behind last year, not having a great run game to lean back on and, kind of help him navigate through the turmoil, not having, Nick Marsh obviously really good, but Michigan State didn't have any receivers that could take the lid off. They do now. They have multiple guys that can do that. But I think he's gonna take a big step. His turnovers were on a downward trajectory to end the season last year, and I think he's going to continue that. He's going to make mistakes here and there. That always happens. He's 19 years old.
Right, and he's still trying to make plays.
He's younger.
I think part of his growth is that he's learning he doesn't have to do it all by himself.
Right. Yeah, I think that was a big thing from last year. He forced a lot because he thought that he had to, and I think that if he lets the game to come to him, he can be an all Big Ten quarterback. He can. He has that kind of potential. A guy that could be a draft pick down the line. And he's got a cannon, and we've seen the playmaking ability where he gets outside the pocket and he can scoot a little bit, juke guys out, and run someone over. I'm expecting that out of him. I am. It's kind of make or break for him. Like if he has a bad year this year, the experiment's over. Mm-hmm. Like you paid the guy, a few $1 million, probably more. And if it doesn't work, then it might be time to move on. But I think he's going to have a nice season. And I've heard good things about Alicio Milikovic as a backup. Apparently he's done well commanding the offense. Coaches like that. So that's good to have at least a serviceable backup in case anything were to happen. Hopefully he can get a series or two in on Friday. That'd be nice. Running back is an interesting position for Michigan State. Lost basically everything. Only have 14 carries back from last year between two true freshmen. We're going to transfer a couple freshmen as well. I think it's going to be a by committee thing. Frazier, Mekhi Frazier, and then Brandon Tullis. Those are the two guys leading the pack, I believe.
Kind of like thunder and lightning.
Yeah, Frazier's a little faster, puts his foot on the ground. Tullis is kind of the run you over guy, and then Tal Tolliver from Sacramento State. He's a really good pass catching back. He's third down weapon. He's not great in the pass pro. Then Jace Clarizo, he's the guy you just mentioned, 4-star running back. He was committed to Michigan State, flipped to Bama, flipped back to Michigan State. My bold prediction is that he's going to be getting starter snaps by the end of the season. I think he's going to be a really nice player.
And I'll say this, running back is not like quarterback where if you've got two, you don't have one. I think you can have a committee.
Yeah, ride the hot hand. Michigan State's done it before.
And I think as long as you've got a little bit of, variety in your styles, and you've got guys that don't put the ball on the turf. Michigan State, plenty of times in my lifetime, I'd go back to when I was at school there, you'd go into a season, you're like, I don't really know these running backs on the roster, and all of a sudden they bust out and they're really good. Like a guy like Dwayne Goulbourne, he wasn't some highly touted recruit back in the day. Like the first one I really remember that was more highly touted in the 90s that came in was Cedric Irvin, who I watched his son the other day playing for Stanford. So Michigan State plenty of times has done. Like Le'Veon Bell was a 2-star when he came in, right? Ringer was a 3-star. Like these guys were not like stud guys, and they just kind of worked their way through. And the key is Michigan State's line is way better, at least on paper, and at least from what we hear. We'll see it a little bit on Friday, but is better, which will make our running game better.
And we can get to that. I think Michigan State has. Jonathan Smith said they have 9 or 10 guys that can roll out there and feel comfortable playing. Last year, you could maybe say 3 or 4, and then the rest of the guys. They had so many injuries. They had 3 or 4. just right away, and they just got behind the 8 ball.
They ran through 3 guards, right?
Yeah, they just didn't have. They had no continuity at all. Guys playing out of position. It was not good, and guys underperforming. What's his name? Why am I saying
Lefo?
I forget his name. Thank goodness he's not going to be playing as much. That guy stinks. Stanton
Fine
Ramel
as a depth piece.
Stanton Ramel. He's going to be an all-conference player by the time his career's done. I wouldn't be surprised if he was this year. That guy's a stud at left tackle. Connor Moore, right tackle transfer from Montana State, like his game. Matt Golban, he's a captain center from Wake Forest. I expect good things out of him. And then, some more depth. Rakeem Johnson, he played a little tackle guard center last year. He's kind of a swing guy that can do it all. And then they have a few guards that can play. So I'm looking forward to seeing how these guys have developed, and if they can create some holes, give Aiden some time to throw the ball. I think it'd be good if they do that. And then getting into the tight ends, Jack Velling has to take a step. He was disappointing last year. He is dinged up here and there. He's dinged up coming into camp. He's fine now, but he's got to take that step to be that safety blanket. That's going to help Childs out immensely.
Yeah, Michigan State's best teams have been with a great tight end.
Josiah Price type. Even a Connor Hayward was into a makeshift tight end.
Back, yeah.
He was really solid. Brian Linthicum,
Chris Baker.
13, 14 years ago. Michigan State needs to have a good tight end. I think Velling can be that. Mike Masunas, and then Brennan Parachek. Pretty solid tight ends, 2 and 3 tight ends. And then they have some other depth pieces there as well that are redshirt freshmen or transfers. But I think tight end is a position where Michigan State stays healthy. They can be serviceable. Velling dinged up last year. Masunas was lost for the year pretty early. Parachek was in and out of the lineup. It was just kind of throwing random guys out there saying, here you go, have fun. But expecting that to be a solid position for Michigan State. And then on the offense, this is what I'm most excited to see is the wide receiving core. Could be Michigan State's most talented since 2014, 15, around there. Nick Marsh, obviously, he's getting some big time NIL money to be at Michigan State. Guy's gonna be, could be a close to 1,000-yard receiver, very solid. Omari Kelly, transfer from Middle Tennessee, number 1. Usually, good receivers for Michigan State were number 1.
Mm-hmm.
He can take the lid off, and he's a very good possession receiver as well. I'm expecting him to be solid. Rodney Bullard, D2 transfer from Valdosta State. Kind of a slot. He can play a little Z receiver. Watch out for this kid as a return man. I've heard really good things.
Michigan State hasn't had in a while. So I'll read at punt, but not kickoff return.
Yeah, fast. Krishan McCray, transfer from Kent State, another guy that can play Z
Boyd
in slot, and then Boyd as well, very solid. Alante Brown still at Michigan State. I don't know why I get him out of here.
He'll get hurt on the opening kickoff.
Probably. Then 3 freshmen that I've heard good things about. They all could play. Charles Tapling's from Texas, Braylon Collier from Ohio, and then Bryson Williams. He's a guy to keep an eye on. Michigan State could use him as a gadget guy. He was one of the best two-way players in Michigan last year. Plays receiver, can play running back, kind of like a Keyshawn Martin type. Very fast player. So keep an eye for those guys. But I'm just excited to see them and if they can perform. Defensive tackle, I think Michigan State's got some good depth there. Alex Van Sumerman's back. He was pretty good last year. Ben Roberts, a.k.a. the Big Worm, that's what they call him. He's a big feller, 335. He's pretty solid. The guy that I think you should watch out for is another freshman here, Derek Simmons. He's a Michigan State's highest rated recruit from Frankenmuth. He's a 4-star. The coaches have spoken very highly of him. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get some run early in the season. But I think Michigan State's got good depth at D-tackle. They can rotate guys, which is good, keep them fresh. The hand in the dirt defensive end, I think Michigan State's fine there. Jalen Thompson, Quindarius Dunnigan, pretty solid. I think that they're 1 and 1A there. the edge stand-up positions where I have concern for Michigan State on this D-line. There's no one that played last year of use. My two guys to keep an eye on are David Santiago, transfer from Air Force. Good size, pretty quick guy. And then a guy that coaches have talked about, Analu Lafale, transfer from Wisconsin. He was a 4-star, did not play last year as a redshirt freshman. So we'll see if he can bring some speed and bend to the edge, because Michigan State needs to get home. I mean, that's the giant elephant in the room. Michigan State went like a year and a half without a sack last year. And that's embarrassing. Michigan State needs to be able to create pressure without blitzing. They haven't been able to do that consistently for a long time. If they can do that, Michigan State's got talent on the back end of this defense. That doesn't worry me as much. It's really the front four. Can they create pass rush against the run? They don't worry. I mean, Michigan State's usually pretty stout against the run. Last year, they were like 20th in rush yards allowed per game. That's pretty solid. Linebackers, Jordan Hall, love that guy. Good person, and he's a stud. Wayne Matthews, hopefully be healthy. Darius Snow, another guy that's battled health issues. If he's healthy, he's a serviceable guy that can play a little, hybrid linebacker, nickel. Guys I've heard good things about. Marcellus Pulliam, he's a transfer from Miami last year, and then Samaj Bridgman, he apparently had a bunch of picks in preseason practice, and Brady Pretzloff, he's from Gaylord. Played a little bit last year. Big old linebacker, 6'4". Then corner, Josh Eaton, Chance Rucker. I think those are the two best ones. I feel comfortable with them. Hopefully Rucker can stay healthy. He's a talented kid. There's some good depth there. Aiden West, he's a freshman to watch. I think he's number 2, if I'm remembering correctly. Ohio State tried to swoop in late to get him, so he's a talented kid. He's from Maryland. I think he'll get some run. Safety, Lee Spencer, Nikai Martinez. Martinez a little banged up. He's questionable Friday. Don't know if he'll go. Michigan State's got decent depth at safety. Justin Denson, Amorion Smith. I'm not too worried about that. The position I'm very, very worried about is kicker. It was
not punter.
Said last week. No, Eckley stud. No, nothing needs to be said about him. Kicker. Tariq Ambastok and Martin Connington, Michigan State 2 kickers. They're supposed to be battling out. Both hurt their groins. I don't know what they were doing. Just not going to speculate there. Hurt themselves in, I don't know if it was workouts this summer, but they've been battling injury. Neither of them practiced. Michigan State has their third-string walk-on kicker. Was at Davenport. I think his name's Blake Sislow. Didn't even crack.
Hey, Hawaii had a guy from Japan who learned how to kick on YouTube. I heard a bajillion times. Wow. So why not? Why can't we?
Apparently, this kid made a couple 50-plus yarders in the scrimmage. So maybe he's got a leg. Maybe he's like he's all over the place. Who knows? But as long as he can make extra points for the time being, and then until one of these guys comes back and can take the job, that's fine. Keeps the ball in bounds on kickoffs. That's about all I can ask for. But that's not a good thing for Michigan State. That could lose them a game or two, not having a kicker.
Michigan State usually has a reliable kicker, too.
They have. So. 2022 we lost to Indiana because we had that fat-ass lefty kicker that missed like a 20-yarder.
Yep.
We don't need that again. That's really it. We can run through Michigan State's schedule. Do you have anything else on them? Do you want to get to? Or
nope, I think you got it covered well.
All right. Without further ado, Western Michigan win.
Yeah.
Boston College, it's revenge time. We've lost the last 2 to 2007 Champs Sports Bowl. Still keeps me up at night. 27-24. We lost that one. I think it was similar last year.
Nate Carter dropped a touchdown in the end zone. Otherwise, we would have won.
We're going to beat them. Youngstown State win. The Michigan State goes west. Tough game. USC on the road. Michigan State hasn't played USC for quite a while. But I think they lose that one. Could be a close game. Then Michigan State has a bye for the 5th week. Then they go to Nebraska. Do I think they could beat Nebraska? Yeah, absolutely. Do I think they can beat USC? Absolutely. But I'm not going to guarantee that. I'm going to say they lose it. So they're 3-2 at this point.
Yep.
Come home for homecoming as UCLA. I think they curb stomp them.
Yep.
And that fool coach. Then they go to Indiana. Indiana's going to be a little down compared to last year, but tough game. I think they lose it.
I've got a win against Indiana.
Oh, I like that. Michigan. It's time. We've lost 3 in a row to these fools. We owe them from last year. And I think Michigan State's a more well-rounded team than Michigan is. And I think Michigan State wins that, takes back the trophy.
Yep.
At Minnesota, what is it with Michigan State playing these AWODs around Halloween every time?
It doesn't go well.
No, but I think we're going to beat them this time.
I got us losing.
Win. PJ Fleck in his barbershop quartet outfit. Then a bye week before a tough finish of home against Penn State. I don't see that happening.
I don't either.
At Iowa, have them losing that.
I do too.
Then at Ford Field, Maryland win.
Yep.
That's good for 7-5, 4-5 in the Big Ten. I think Michigan State's ceiling is 9-3. I really do. I think they could pick off a Nebraska or an Iowa or an Indiana or even USC. If they could win 2 of those, they really could. Penn State's
not an impossible game.
Penn State's the game
at home
where I don't think we have a chance.
But we've done that against Penn State at home before.
True.
It's coming off of a bye. Whereas Penn State coming off of that, they are Ohio State, Indiana back to back before they play us. So
spot.
I don't. Out of all these teams, like a USC is one of my 7-5s. Nebraska, I have having a better season, but I think they're beatable. UCLA is one of those 7-5s. Indiana is one of those 7-5s. Michigan's one of those 7-5s. Minnesota's like an 8-4. Penn State is one of the 2 best teams in the league. Iowa's a 7-5. And Maryland's going to be dog water. So I agree. I think 8, maybe 9 if they pull a shocker. But 5 and 7 could be squaring us in the face or staring us square in the face as well if things like the kicking game or injury bug at a certain position bite, and that's the thing is you just don't know what's going to happen.
No, it's a mystery. That's why we roll them out and play. That's the Spartans. Looking forward to seeing just their progression, how much they've grown, and see what's up after Friday night at about 11 o'clock. All right, let's get to our. We'll review a couple games from last week. Our guy, we got to give a shout out to Bill. Cyclones, I texted him. I said we're pulling for the Fighting Bill Norrises get the win over their arch rival Kansas State in Farmageddon. I like Iowa State's defense. I like their style. Kansas State's coach is an idiot. I'm glad Michigan State didn't hire him. I don't like Kleiman at all, really. But Iowa State prevails in Dublin to get to 1-0, the first ranked on ranked matchup. I went 4-0 in picks last week. You went 3-1, so nice little start there. Kansas dominated. Western Kentucky dominated. Hawaii, you touched on it. Last second field goal over Stanford.
Stanford kind of blew that game.
Stanford's a dumpster fire. What happened to the David Shaw days when they were churning out Rose Bowls left and right? They're shit. They're horrible.
Well, they got away from their bread and butter in that game. I was watching it, which was pounding the ball down Hawaii's throat. They tried to mix in a pass.
Frank Reich
made a great interception, and that kind of returned the game, and then Hawaii won. So it also cost me a parlay.
I won my parlay. Frank Reich, coach. I don't have anything else on week 0. Without further ado, we're going to do some week 1 picks. We're not doing all the Big Ten games. That's way too many. There's way too many duds. But we will start Thursday night, Arrowhead Stadium, Nebraska versus Cincinnati. It's pretty close spread, so we're going to go straight here. I'm going with Go Big Red with Dub to start off the season with Mahomes Jr.
Yep, same.
Cincinnati stinks. Scott Satterfield, he reminds me of Pat Narduzzi. We'll do Michigan State last. Texas Ohio State, just a massive week 1 tilt. Top 5 matchup. Hook 'em. I don't believe
Yeah,
in Ohio State
I
right
picked
now.
Texas out of the gate. I think Ohio State's going to be fine and in the playoff by the end of the year, but I think
Get early with
Texas
a new
goes
quarterback.
and pulls off a close win at the shoe.
How about this one? Northwestern starts off against the Tulane Green Wave down in New Orleans. Tulane's got fantastic jerseys and helmets. That they like the Michigan State color green and that that blue. Ooh, that's a nice color scheme they've got going. I'm going with Tulane. Pretty close spread there.
Yep, I also have Tulane winning that game.
How about this one? We got to do a couple big spreaders. Nevada, Penn State, 44 points. I think
we're going spread.
Yep, I think Penn State covers it because you know what James Franklin does? Runs up the score. Against bad
44
teams.
is a lot of points in the opener. That's greater than 6 touchdowns. I'm staying away from that. Like I'd rather pick Penn State minus 20,000 money line. Give me Nebraska or give me Nevada to cover that spread.
We go to our friends, not really, down the road in Double-A. The New Mexico Lobos play Michigan, newly minted. You ain't ever seen a freshman like me. Bryce Underwood is the quarterback. Yeah, what? That eats that many donuts, you fat ass. 37 is the spread in this one. I don't think Michigan can score 37 points.
No way. With a freshman quarterback,
no.
But in an offense that was so paltry last year, I don't see how they're going to be that much better.
Their line's not good.
No way they cover 37.
I think they can run the
Michigan
ball.
is the king of not covering the spread anyway. Home spread especially.
Michigan's defense is solid. Their line...
That doesn't matter. They're
I
not
know, I'm just saying,
can't score
their defense is
points.
solid, and I don't think their offense is going to do that much. So I think it'll be like a 31-7 type game.
I don't even think they'll score that many.
Utah versus UCLA in the Rose Bowl, old Pac-12 matchup. I'm going with the Utes. Kyle Whittingham. I hate UCLA.
Yep, sticking to my preseason picks, I'm going to go with the same.
Couple big ones, couple other ranked games. LSU, Death Valley to Death Valley. LSU plays Clemson. This is a doozy. Saturday night. I've got the Tigers in this
That's
one.
not a neutral game?
Nope. I got the Tigers in this one.
Is it in Clemson?
It's at Clemson. I'm going with the Orange Tigers,
Yeah.
Clemson Tigers, Dabo, Kid Klubnik, Brian Kelly and his family.
Yeah.
Not going to get a dub here.
I think Clemson gets the upper hand as
I
well.
like Klubnik as a quarterback. He's solid. Notre Dame goes down to Miami Sunday night. Two classic teams. A good jersey matchup.
Catholics versus convicts.
2.0. I hate Mario Cristobal. I like Marcus Freeman. Let's go Irish.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Notre Dame in that
For
game
Dr.
as well.
Kevin.
Dr. Kevin will appreciate that.
Yep. And last but certainly not least, East Lansing, Michigan, 7 o'clock Friday night. 19.5 was the last I saw. Can Michigan State cover it against the Broncos?
I mean, that's 3 touchdowns. That's dicey, to be honest.
Can Michigan State score 3 touchdowns?
Well, fair question.
We almost lost to FAU last year.
I think they're a little more established this year. I could see them covering 19.5.
I got them covering.
Not by much, but
No, by a hair.
probably by 20.
All right, that is our 4 downs for the week. Let's get to sprint. This is based off of something we talked about last week. I was going to say it last week, but I held off for this week for a question. Which city or cities do you think should get an MLB expansion team if they end up doing that?
Nashville, I've seen, and I think
Nashville
would probably be a good one. I've seen Salt Lake City. I don't know what do we really need more teams though?
No, but
expansion's not always the best thing. It's like, how about swapping out places is probably a better thing. I mean, if I had to pick another, like a Salt Lake City puts you somewhere else in the West because we already know that the A's are going to move to Vegas. So,
Yep.
That's probably the most logical place to put a team unless you're going to put another team in Canada, but I just don't see that. I don't know that there's that much excitement. There used to be the Montreal Expos, and nobody gave a shit about that. So
yeah, well, guess what? I want the Expos to come back, so that's my pick.
Yeah, I mean,
they have a sweet logo.
Yeah,
bring them back.
Yeah, I could see that. I think it's a waste. That's the same commissioner that wants to abolish the American National League and just have it be a free for all, or like the NFL. Big mistake.
What position group are you most worried about for Michigan State heading into the season?
Well, Chris kind of asked that from an injury standpoint. I mean, the obvious one has to be kicker, right? Because kickers are extra points should be free points. You got to be able to make field goals because you can't always go for it. You're not going to be Dan Campbell. That worries me a little bit. Just if you get a rash of injuries at one spot, that always worries me a little bit. I think Michigan State has more depth. I think Michigan State's a more talented team this year. But right now, not because everything else is so loaded, but because kicker is such a question. I'd say kicker.
I'm going to go different. The OSAD line, especially the ends. I think that's a concern for me, and hopefully I can be proven wrong. All right, best tailgate meal. Is it breakfast, brunch, lunch, or dinner?
All of the above?
Yeah.
Like a day when you can have breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Next week for Boston College. That's going to be
that's a tough question because there's so many good foods at all. I don't really have a favorite. I prefer a 3:30 game over a noon game for sure, but I do like a good breakfast tailgate.
I'm going to say breakfast. What is your final score prediction for Friday night in East Lansing?
I'm going to go Michigan State. Well, we got to stick away from field goals probably. I'm going to go Michigan State 31, Western 10.
Did you read mine?
No.
That's the score I predict. I put that on there. I put this together last week, these questions, and that's the score that I've thought for a couple weeks. So 31-10 for both of us. I think that's a cover, and I think Michigan State does it easily, wins easily, not covers easily. Nothing's ever easy for Michigan State when it comes to things. But I appreciate you guys listening. Can't wait for this first weekend as we get into it. Some really good games to watch, and then obviously, I mean, this next month of sports is pretty damn good. We've got college football, NFL starts in 2 weeks. Ryder Cup in a month. We're almost to the October Classic. We got the playoffs. NHL starting. Michigan State basketball practice will start soon. Their schedule should be out soon. Actually, first game, they're playing the Colgate Fighting Toothpaste. I know that much.
Nice.
That should be out soon. School's started for kids, so I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore. But yeah, if you have any playlists you want us to do, any mailbag questions, any brackets, Mount Rushmores, we're always open to it. Appreciate you guys listening. Happy watching college football. We're back.
Meantime, etched on locker rooms everywhere, and maybe the mantra you're hoping your team has heading into this season, every setback is a setup for a comeback.